What's happening, everybody? I'm back. Your resident supervillain, Mr. J. Washington, with another one-on-one with the supervillain video. Y'all already know. You see a bunch of these. It is what it is, and we have so much fun doing them. I do. Thank you to everybody who's been giving me the positive responses and the feedback on the videos, on the one-on-ones, who have enjoyed learning about different people, the different conversations, the directions in which they go, and the insight in which they bring. And I've had fun with them all, and I love talking with this gentleman I'm about to talk to again, all the way from Pennsylvania, Mr. Jim Payne. What's happening, sir?
Hey Jay, how you doing?
I'm well. I'm
That's
well. How about yourself? How's everything been?
well, the world's looking up. Things are Trump's famous. We're rounding the corner. I think we might actually, because we're getting ready. We left him on the other side of the corner, and now the rest of us can move on. And
I think that's the biggest thing. Like now, I mean, after the other day, after yesterday, Monday, by the time we record this, it's like, okay, it's official. Can you accept the fact that this is done? But of course, he still can't. So,
no. Well, but the other Republicans are finally going, okay, we rode that horse as long as we could. Now even the guy from Kentucky,
the Turtle
Mitch,
McConnell,
yeah, even
Turtle
he said
McConnell,
yes. Joe Biden's the
it, it really. I saw the clip of it, and then when I saw it, I just was like, wait, okay, I get the Electoral College makes it official. I get it, but we really gonna play that? We was really gonna play that game for almost a couple of months. That there's a possibility he couldn't have won. Come on now, and
yeah.
you make American democracy a laughing joke. But at the same time, when they do that, I really hope, as God is my witness, I hope the one thing that comes out of this positively is that it makes people in Georgia who are Trump supporters not vote. I really do.
Right. Yeah. I think the Republican Party's going to see a backlash from this starting in January.
Yep.
The midterms. Now they're going to have their supporters, so that But I think too, the thing that came out of this one is there are more people with our views than their views, and they,
Yeah, I agree.
And now we got to keep our, and that's I always said, you you have the right to vote, you have the responsibility to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like I didn't really support Gore in 2000 with the Chad because everybody got to vote.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of on them that they did it wrong if they did, and you got to have. It's something that I think people kind of gloss over. We have responsibilities too. We have to do things correctly.
You
But
ain't never lied. I mean, this situation. I think that the entire. I think one of the biggest things I take from all of this that has happened is, you know how people misuse terms and names and phrases
yes.
and take the meaning away from them. The
Mhm.
word patriot now does not have that same meaning, because
Right.
you can't sit there and say, "Oh, we're only patriots fighting." Wait a minute, what you mean to tell me that 80 million people aren't patriots because they
Yeah.
didn't vote for who you voted for? That's not how this works. You know,
Yeah. That's really serving in the military. I think most everybody, there are maybe a few, but if I was in uniform, people come up and thank me for my service. When I bring it up,
mhm.
people, it's like it was a job for me, really. It's it is a yeah, it's one of those weird things, where um you serve, you do your job, you're doing it because you respect the country, you want to defend it, but then someone turns around and thanks you for it. It's a little weird. It's like, okay,
I don't
but
know anyone that has served personally who, you the way some people do it, the way some people, when they tell people thank you for their service, they make it seem as if sometimes there are military people who are waiting for them to tell them that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I've never heard of anybody I know that's either current or active military was like, watch they thank me, watch they thank me. Like you never see that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. I mean, and I could see, um, like an actor that gets some fame, all of a sudden everybody wants their autograph and something like that. That's kind of a close thing. It's like I'm just doing my
That's a
job,
good
and
analogy. That's a good analogy.
yeah, the one that when I was in the 80s, 90s, early 2000, the old World War II vets would come up to us all the time, and those guys were, they were the people we looked up to because yeah, we said we'll do it. They did it,
Right, right, right.
But I will say, I did go back and look at the our one-on-one from before. I
Yeah.
remember now what I was going to tell you.
What
It
was it?
was you were starting down the anime. You're starting into anime. I got two
Yes.
animes for you.
I got a
Tiger
pen.
Mask W.
I think I've heard about that one. Tiger Mask
It's
W.
it was made by New Japan. It has a bunch of New Japan wrestlers in it. Kenny Omega makes a brief clip, but
Okay.
it's really good. Um, the second one is I Want to Be the Strongest in the World, which is a bit more cheesy, but it's really fun after you get past the cheese.
I want to be the strongest in the world. Cool. I'm writing both of these down. He said, once you
that,
get
that
past the cheese, it's okay. I think there's so many shows
what,
that are like that at the point.
Well, that one is it's a pop sing like an idol group over in Japan says, "Oh, wrestling's big. Let's send two of our singers out to a wrestling show and film a spot."
Oh my
And
god.
one of the girls gets in an argument with one of the wrestler girls, and then she decides she's going to become a pro wrestler. So it has, yeah, but
Lord have mercy.
it turns out to be uh, a very good story in my opinion.
Okay, I'm gonna definitely, like I said, I got them written down. So I mean, they're definitely right
Yeah.
here. So I'm gonna check them out. Speaking of wrestling, have you been checking out the craziness that is professional wrestling?
Not much. I heard Becky had her baby. I've seen some things, but I haven't watched anything recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I say that because it's like 1 minute when you think you know, well, not even you think you see a stride happening, things start
Mm,
to regress, and you're like, oh, why is this happening? Like, what's going on? You know, things like that. Like I've been watching, I've been trying to watch more AEW again.
mm,
WWE is like it's 1 minute where it's moving, but again, I keep forgetting it all varies on the show. And by that I say either Raw or SmackDown. NXT is gonna be NXT. You never have to worry about that. You know what you're getting with
yeah,
NXT. You know,
yeah.
Raw, SmackDown, it's always changing up 1 minute. Like I was I missed most of it yesterday, but I started catching up on it. And like the whole retribution thing. And I'm like, I wanted
Yeah,
this could have succeeded so well.
yeah.
It had so much potential.
Mm.
But
They
then they
just
said, "Hey, we
dropped the
gave them
ball.
contracts," and that was it.
Oh, that's that's WWE for you. Let's start down this. We don't like it. Let's kill it and move on to the next one. You
I
know.
mean, when they do it too, and it's bad because you say it, and a lot of people hear it, and they don't understand. Like, it's not one of those. Let's just test the waters. It's like, no, we're fully down this path, and it is like,
Mm.
you know what, just end it. And you're like, wait, you're just gonna do that? Like nobody, like no one just saw that, right? Like that
Yeah.
is always the thing.
And I forget what happened, but it was the one where DX supposedly blew up Vince McMahon, and then something happened in the real world, and they just that's over. We aren't doing that.
Oh, they've done. They had. I remember they had that happen a couple of times. I remember back in the day. I will never forget the London terrorist attack, and this is
Yeah.
when SmackDown was taped. And
Mhm.
I remember them putting on the screen at early in the bottom at a crawl saying events that will happen later on in the program were taped already
Mhm.
before the events in London. They had to edit that
Yeah.
in real quick. And I
Yeah.
remember that and I was like, oh, they will change shit quick. Again, the New Day is another example. The New
Yeah.
Day were supposed to be a very militant group at first, and then
Yeah.
Ferguson happened, and Vince McMahon
Yeah.
was like, I don't think we should do this. I think
Yeah.
actually somebody else
Well,
had to tell Vince. I don't think Vince himself, I think Vince probably was
yeah.
like, this is a perfect time. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, and it too, I think with those three, they were probably better off doing New
Oh,
Day as they did.
mhm,
I
mhm.
mean, not just, Xavier Woods, just his everybody knows him from up, down, down,
Mhm.
uh, all that. And Kofi'd been a baby face since he arrived. Big E's the only one but he seems to enjoy the lighter, you know.
Well, they said they were. I remember hearing something. This was about a couple months ago. This wasn't super long ago. It was they loved the fact that they were able to be themselves.
Yeah,
This wasn't a gimmick. This wasn't a
right.
character. They like to joke and have fun, and they got to be able to do that. Again,
Yeah.
we made our own cereal called Bootios.
That's
We made a cereal. We got to throw pancakes out in the
kicks. Mhm.
audience. Again,
Yeah.
this was just some silly stuff we came up with, just natural because we're
Right.
goofy and have fun.
Xavier dragging or bringing the trombone down, and that's it. Yeah,
And all of it caught on. I think that's the best thing.
yeah,
Like all of it caught on. Everybody was just like, okay, I want to hear trombone on a microphone over speakers in a stadium.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
everybody was cool with it. It's just
Yeah.
it's amazing, man. I've been watching, like I said, I watched it and go ahead, you
You
want to
got
say?
Well, I was just gonna ask, are you getting any wrestling gigs or anything
Well,
coming up?
nothing has happened as of right now. Like I said, I was training for a while, but then the
Mm,
place where I train at, he also it's a regular studio. So people an FX studio, they rent out the studio for different things, and so
uh,
people have been renting out the studio a lot. So he wasn't able
wow.
to open the doors to training. And as far as wrestling gigs, I honestly I've been, as much as I want to work, I'm
Mm,
hesitant because the
yeah,
main places really that only have wrestling going on are in some states that, let's just be honest, don't give a shit about a pandemic. And so
yeah,
I don't want to risk. It's not even just, saying I don't know if I can trust the other workers because they not
yeah.
holding, like, just being realistic as an actor. Before I
Hmm.
can go on a set, I have to be COVID tested several times leading up to the day I actually report on set. So when I book a gig, depending on how soon I got to be on set, I'm possibly taking a COVID test that same day, then taking
Yeah.
one 72 hours later. And so, those things are taking precautions. But when it comes to like indie wrestling, in many cases, it's just, just show
Yeah.
up. Now,
Yeah.
shit like championship wrestling for Hollywood, which I would love to do, but I haven't,
Mhm.
you know, I know the Booker, Dave Marquez, and people like that. I know them personally. They don't know of me as my wrestling personality, which I
Mm,
respect that. I can't just jump
yeah.
out and be like, well, we cool, book me. I
Hmm.
respect that. But they
Yeah.
do, but I bring that up because they make sure with the United Wrestling Network, they make sure you have to be tested. There's
Yeah.
no, well, you need a test for, positive, you need a confirmed test that you tell, and it
Mhm.
has to be negative. They're not playing games with that. And
Yeah.
even with New Japan, because New Japan will film out here and stuff like that. And so all of those different things, I'm like, I understand that every promotion isn't running like that. But if I found a promotion, let's say a promotion I know was running like that, and they hit me up, there's like, yo, we want to bring you in, maybe have a small match or whatever, blah, blah, blah. As long as you're tested, everybody else is tested, we making sure everybody's
Mhm.
safe, then I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I think then I'm good.
Yeah.
But
Well,
also pro
how
wrestling in certain areas and just small, sweaty, enclosed buildings
yeah.
don't
Yeah.
I think that's really the biggest thing. Pro wrestling in sweaty enclosed buildings right now does not seem like the best move.
No. No, well, and I like Pennsylvania just shut back down again. Well, not completely, but they or they want everybody to stay at home. They did do a mask mandate. Um, they they put in a lot. They shut down all schools and
Mhm.
extracurricular activities and that um, through the beginning of the year, January 4th or 7th, something like that's when
Mhm.
but I haven't been following like other states. I watch NFL games and, one stadium's empty, the next has 25-30% capacity depending on where they are. But
You know what? I think now when I watch football games and I'm like, I know certain, like, again, I know when I watch a Bears game from a Bears home game, I know ain't nobody in them stands. It ain't happening, no
yeah,
matter what. But you
right.
watch like any game in Texas or Florida,
Yeah.
man, especially if you're like, oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. Florida, Texas, pretty much anywhere south. you know.
I think the scariest thing to see, and we're about to see it pretty soon, no matter what, is AT&T Stadium filled up.
Yeah.
Because even though the
Yeah.
Cowboys are losing, people just want to go to a game for some reason. And Jerry Jones is like, let's open it up. Everybody want to come here to see football. We gonna, be good. Like, bro, that's not
Yeah.
the thing we need to do right now. I don't think that's the move. Like,
Yeah. That's the first people just got the vaccine shot. There's like 100 people that are that are good. Let's
150
wait a bit.
people walking around. Like, okay, that doesn't. And they are only because like it's only been frontline workers and
Right.
healthcare workers. The
Mm,
media necessities, like those are the main ones. Like, yo, they've been vaccinated. And again, they said that I can't tell you the arguments I've had on social media with so many people with the vaccine. Because at first, I was one of those people. I'll admit, I was hesitant about the vaccine because I was like,
uh,
this is quick.
yeah.
When you hear about studies, this is quick. But then when you think about it in actual retrospect, anytime companies are working on vaccines, cures, whatever, there are
Mm,
people working in different divisions consistently on
right.
different projects. In this case, everybody was told to stop
Every
everything else.
well,
Every,
yeah. And the other thing with this is it's similar enough to things in the past. They weren't starting at ground zero, of this plague has nothing common with anything else.
mm,
It's a strain of the flu. So okay, let's look at all our old flu and what we might think. So they I think they had uh, a step ahead in that
yeah, I mean, yeah,
respect.
it's a novel virus, of course, but it's in the same family. So it
Mm,
made it a bit easier. It'd be a different
right.
story if this virus wasn't in because coronavirus is the common cold, pretty
Yeah,
much. If it wasn't in the coronavirus family, then it would be a whole different ball game.
yeah,
Then we'll be talking years for real because there's really like we got to do so much data testing on this. But because it's all right, we've had swine flu, we've had the
avian.
bird flu, we had the
Mm,
cold, the flu, and all this. And so we know what these strains are. This is a newer strain. So if something evolves, what do we do to add to that? So when you think about that, and then you put the smartest people in the world all at the same time, all working with the
mm,
same goal. Like no
mhm.
matter what, if they're working for different companies, they all are working towards it. Nobody's working on, unfortunately, the cure for cancer, the cure for AIDS.
Yeah,
Because I was one of those people that were like, wait, you mean to tell me we got the vaccine for this, but not cancer and AIDS? But then again, my brain had to sit there and kick in for a second. It was like, yo, you've been taught this and you know this. There's no money in the cure.
yeah,
The money is in the suppressants and the treatment plans. There's no if
yeah.
I cure, I mean, it's like it sounds terrible to say, but if a
Mhm.
company cures AIDS, a lot of these big pharma companies that have always been a thing that make their money off of AIDS medications lose
Mhm.
that. And that's all they
Yeah,
care about. They don't give a
yeah,
shit about people's health.
yeah. Yeah, that's it's a sad truth. Uh, but yeah, they're just they put everything they had into it, stopped, like you said, stopped everything else, and it still took them what 9 months, a year to get to here.
Yeah, I mean it did, and I think it took them 9 months, and that's I wouldn't even say 9 because I think when it started getting reported, you had people slowly working on it.
Right.
So we got to think about it. They may have been working since January. So a year.
Right.
Maybe January. But I think once it became this is the focus, no matter what else. Now we got to get, like I said, they were signing people up to do trials. There are a bunch of people out here who many of us didn't know, but was sitting next to them, so to speak, and they were taking the coronavirus. They were doing the vaccine trials, and you never knew.
Yeah.
They wasn't around here like, yeah, I'm getting this. I'm testing this for y'all real quick. No, they just like they were going through them.
Yeah. Well, I would have volunteered if they, okay, list me the side effects. Well, you're going to find out. Oh boy. Okay. Well,
First of all, for that pay, when I heard people got paid, I said, excuse me? I said, yo, if that was the case, you can go ahead and find a spot right here.
Yeah.
I'll pad on it. Like,
Yeah.
do I need to prep it up for you? Like, because and they said you wouldn't even know. The problem was everybody wasn't getting the vaccine. Some people were getting a placebo. So if they said they had side effects, they were like, what are you having side effects to? Oh, I think y'all gave me some. No, you just got water. Like,
that's well, you need that control group to
absolutely
to find those things. And really, the only two I've heard, I guess, two people that had like mad crazy allergies to everything else had issues over in England to their
so they were already like damn near anything else they're allergic to naturally anyway.
They had to carry EpiPens with them. And
so
they both
go ahead.
Yeah, no, they're the kids that you can't give peanuts to, or
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some people like, yo, they have natural allergies to everything. So a vaccine is not gonna be, no matter what, probably won't be the best thing for them. But the problem is, you have people who will take just that little part that, oh my god, they had a reaction to the vaccine. It's like, yo, did you just not hear everything else we said prior to the reaction to the vaccine?
Yeah, well, that's like bouncing around a little. Trump, or with the Trump thing, he's claiming all this fraud. I was listening to an interview with our Pennsylvania's attorney general, and he said there have been no cases of fraud in Pennsylvania, and they had to correct them. There were two. They were both Trump supporters that tried to, and there wasn't any grand scheme or anything. It was just two idiots.
Something I've heard a lot. Honestly, and I'm not just saying it. I think I heard that in a couple situations where, like, anytime they listened about fraud, it wasn't what they thought it was going to be.
No.
Like, you might want to shut up.
Well, if he believed facts, he'd never talk, or if he had to talk about facts.
Hey, again, what it is, Donald Trump really underestimated he underestimated and underestimated his abilities as president. He overestimated it because, again, he thought, I put 3 justices on the Supreme Court. They'll do whatever I want them to do.
Right.
And they brought that shit up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was like, nope.
And that's what it comes down to, and why so many of his supporters are they have to face the world after this.
But you have some who are so adamantly pushing back against that, the realization of because you and I think we've talked about this before, where it's, you used to be able to be racist and go back hide under a rock, and many people might not know who you were. Right. The level of outward racism, sexism, and everything else, you can't go back under a rock anymore.
No.
So now everybody knows who you are. And you thought you were cool being able to do this shit for 4 years because the highest office in the country basically gave you the pass to do so. And because of
Right.
that, everybody thought it was good. Now, this is it's a whole new ball game. You can't pull that shit. Again, it's about to be a boring presidency, which
Yeah.
I'm happy for.
Yeah.
Happy for.
I yeah, it will be boring in that you won't have riots and you won't have, you know, people trying to kidnap governors and other other craziness that we've had in the past 4 years. But I'm actually thinking Biden is going to try some of these things that Trump got away with because they weren't written will be written, made into
Like
law,
what do you mean
like
exactly?
giving up, like the president having to give up business. His
It's going to be it's going to be a law now.
right.
He allowed himself. Trump allowed himself to exploit so many loopholes that everybody was like, "Oh, we thought
Yeah,
people were just going to do shit off good faith. Now we
right,
see this has to happen."
right, and that's for 240 some years. We had presidents that, in good faith, put the country before themselves. All it took was one dude to put himself
One.
before.
And it took out of we say this, it only took one, but it took the right one. I don't think
That's
it took the right one, and unfortunately, he was the right one. Because again, as much as people hated the Bushes, hated the
yeah,
Clintons, and I use both of those families, as much as
right,
people hated them, we can talk about what their foundations do and all this, and again, like the mob almost. But we saw what happened with the country moving forward, right?
yeah,
This one, it was never about the country moving forward. It was
yeah,
about whatever's going to line his pockets and his
right,
family's pockets. And again, everyone's like, yo, you're supposed to divest from your businesses. Oh, well, the president doesn't get paid. But the president makes sure that the country pays him because he has to go to Mar-a-Lago. They have to pay Mar-a-Lago, which means it goes to him. And so I agree. I think they're going to put it in writing. Yo, presidents cannot hold any attachments. But I think, like I say, when I say quiet, as far as we're not always going, well, what the fuck did he say today?
yeah, that's true.
We're not doing that anymore. We're not going, well, God damn, is my president going to potentially start World War III via Twitter? That is the wildest thing that's come out of anything over the past 4 years. Will the president of the United States start World War III via Twitter? Not through arguments and in summits and whatnot, but via Twitter.
Yeah, he he was something specially wrong. There's
When I said this, the country literally elected a guy off the street. I think you and I might have said it, and you elected the worst guy off the street.
right. You could have picked thousands of other people, and they may have been more incompetent, and but they wouldn't have tried to break the country the way he did. And it's I was, for some reason, here about a week ago, I just sat down and watched V for Vendetta again. Dude, go, if you haven't seen that in a while, go back. It is fucking scary how much it almost made me think it was Trump's plan to do this. This is where he was going. There was.
I got to rewatch it because I think you're like the second or third person that said that to me. That the past 4 years are very much, reminiscent of V for Vendetta. I think I said this though. I think we have to be, if we're grateful for anything about Donald Trump, it's that he's stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if he was smart, then it was already scary because it was an unknown variable. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was that you don't know what can happen, what will be done, and how he'll do it. It's chaos.
Yeah.
If he was smart, that is the most terrifying shit in the world because
Yeah.
everything he really tried to do, he'd have done. And
Yeah.
then he'd have done and then some.
Yeah, and I mean he is stupid, but he is the only thing he's doing is getting every last ounce out of this country before he leaves. You know,
Man.
he's had like $300 million donated to his election fraud lawyer fees. He only
Mm-hmm.
has he gets to keep 70% of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's $210 million that he's just pocketing.
And they know it. And that's the
Yeah.
sad part. People have been told, like, you do realize it is in fine print that any donation under a certain amount goes to his pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Like this ain't you ain't just paying you paying his debts. Also, you're not even paying just his fee. You paying his debts that he owes. Do you
No.
understand? I mean, you get it, but I don't think people get how brainwashed you got to be for somebody to say, "I will pay your debts for you," because you
Yeah.
know why? As long as if you can get this done, I can still be racist and hopefully run the things I want to run. That's terrifying. But again, like you and I just said earlier, you got a brand new day coming around come January 20th.
Yeah.
Life is you got a real bad wake up call because you can't even that whole even when I hear it on MSNBC, CNN, even Fox, whatever. This we need to heal the country. That shit ain't happening because the reality about to set in. Because it's like I can't just look at somebody who's been openly hateful for the past 4 years and now think, well, that's not that we can let that go.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's and there is, I mean, like everything, there are like I hate getting into the tough conversations like abortion, trans rights, all not that that's a real tough one. There's only one thing that I don't don't agree with the trans rights, but when you get into these conversations, and this is going to be one that there are people that supported them that I don't think are racist. They weren't doing it because of that, but so many were that they are now tainted with that.
But also, and it was also it's because it wasn't even it's that yes, but it's also the racism wasn't a deal breaker, the
Right.
sexism wasn't a deal breaker,
Right.
the transphobia, the homophobia wasn't a deal breaker.
Right.
Those weren't deal breakers for you. You were
Yeah.
cool. You sat by you not being like that, but sitting by idly while that happens isn't a good thing.
No. No, and it is, but it's the scale, is all I'm saying.
No, no,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have those that are so far gone that we won't be able to ever convince, but then we got the ones from the middle over that, all right, we all do dumb things. It happens. Come on back over. Get get your head
Well,
together.
see, that's where I have a small issue with that because again, it's a different story if we're talking about what a Bush was, a Bush level candidate, a Romney or something like that, where yeah, you're conservative, right wing, whatever you want to call it, and Republican, and it's like okay, these are your ideals and values, and we get that. That's why
Yeah.
you align yourself that way. That's one thing, but
Yeah.
this went further. These past 4 years went further beyond political affiliation.
Yeah.
This went further beyond family value because it wasn't about family values.
No.
It wasn't
No.
about morals. You
No.
know, it went way beyond that because it wasn't about what the quote unquote Republican Party stands for.
Yeah.
Like
And
he may have single handedly destroyed the GOP. He may have I mean, if anything, and I'm not saying that the Democratic Party is any better for those
no.
watching, but
Yeah.
I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination, but Donald Trump may have single-handedly destroyed it because the way his supporters were like, where's all these Republicans at now? And all of them were like, nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yeah. There's there's going to be a lot of blowback from this, I believe. You know, I'm a bit older. I may not see a Republican if in office again in my lifetime, which I'm fine with. But
You know what? And I think I've been watching some of the clips like people put on Twitter of like Lindsey Graham and all this with Sean. He knows it. Graham knows it. A lot of them realize they like that's why they were I think that's why they were holding on so tight. That
yeah,
I know that's why they were trying their best because they know they're like if we don't keep him, it's a wrap.
yeah, yeah. The only thing that could change that is if the people that voted for Biden get complacent and don't do their responsibility and allow them to get back into it, because I do think they need to pay for this. You know what they
Oh
did
yeah,
to this country.
oh yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree.
it's but and there's two. There's the party and then there's the people. I was kind of referring more to the people
Got you,
than the
got you,
party.
got you.
And again, it comes down to something you and Winston say on board. It's not your responsibility as black people to fix this. It's mine as a white person to get my friends that were
Mhm.
still over there to come back and say, hey, now you guys can work on Terry Crews. He's
I,
sorry, that's
it's you know what? It's funny too because I literally a couple of days ago was literally thinking about him because I noticed how silent he got, and I'm
mhm,
wondering, for lack of better words, who shut him up?
yeah.
Because the way he was going,
Agent, lawyer,
some
his lawyer.
somebody shut him up. Because
Hmm.
remember, he was going nonstop, and people were coming like, "Yo, what are you doing?" Like people were literally like, if they weren't just bashing, they were like, "Yo, you might want to stop." Somebody with some, for lack of better words, power over him or
Hmm.
career control told him to shut up, and
Yeah.
they told him to shut up because he just stopped.
Well, and two, and he would be a good example of my thing. He may have been, he may be a Republican that thinks family values and conservative spend and this and that didn't realize, because I could see, even at his level of fame, being out of touch with the real world a bit. So maybe someone said, Terry, come on back over. And that's one of the things, the clip you got, the habitual line stepper.
Yeah, he off the line, habitual
Yeah,
because he was literally. But the thing, it was. It's one of those. It goes back to what we just said, what we've been saying the majority of this conversation of when this is all said and done, you gotta face reality. When
hmm,
this is all said and done, you gotta face reality, whether you want to or not. And yes, you're safe in a sense because you're on NBC and network television. For them, America is not what everybody thinks it is.
hmm,
America is not coast to coast, it's the middle of the country. So,
hmm,
of course, you being on America's Got Talent, which is the middle of the country they're really focused on, you're gonna have that. But when that's all is said and done, bro, they're thinking like, yo, you can mess up a lot of things for a lot of people.
hmm.
So I really wouldn't be surprised somebody told, hey man, shut up.
Yeah, and I mean, and even that, I mean, he did it, which I'd give, it's not a lot of credit, but that's he deserves would deserve some credit if that's what I. Again, no one's ever gonna know because no one, you're not gonna.
There's some people who have been told to, but there are many people like that. We don't. We were seeing so much in the public eye, and it may not have been for the best reasons. And now, all of a sudden, somebody in their camp, again, like you say, agents, managers, lawyers, whoever, were like, "Hey, I'm going to give you some advice that is probably in your best interest. If you want a career, post
Yeah.
this to shut up." Because now,
Mm,
yeah, again, when we talk about the blowback, he's going to suffer the blowback from this. Of course, he's Terry Crews, so he'll
yeah.
be able. It's not saying he won't work. That's gonna
Right.
happen. That's a given. But it's
Right.
the blowback behind that he's got to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam Sandler or someone, one of his buddies will say, "Yeah, come on, Terry. Well, yeah, we know you screwed up, but come on back. I'm doing another Netflix movie."
Rob Schneider will always have a job as long as if Adam Sandler stopped making movies, I don't see Rob Schneider doing too much of anything.
Yeah.
But he knows that and he's cool with that because as long as Adam Sandler's doing something,
Yeah.
I think I've said this on Blurs. I think Winston and I said this, and I stand on this. I need that. I want to be one of those people that has that buddy director that
Yeah.
works, that whatever they do, I'm for sure a role in it.
Yeah. That's
Again, I want to be like Michael Rooker is with James Gunn.
right.
No
Yeah.
matter what Gunn does, Rooker's going to be involved. If he's open to it, if his schedule's allowing it, he's in it.
Right.
You got that with like Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen, James Franco, Craig Robinson, them. You got
Yeah.
the group that works with Quentin Tarantino. Granted, it's
Yeah.
like one more movie and then we're done, supposedly,
Yeah.
because he said he's going to go to 10
Supposedly.
films.
Yeah,
Supposedly 10
supposedly.
films. But you have those, and those keep you working. So again, and Adam Sandler was one of those ones because everybody was like, "That's how Rob Schneider has a career."
Mm-hmm.
Adam Sandler's Happy Madison produces a lot of his stuff.
Yeah. The best movie he ever did was Benchwarmers, and that's a Happy Madison.
That's a
Uh,
Happy Madison movie. Yeah,
um, but and again, Rob Snyder's one of those. He works for that. I didn't know that he was big Trump supporter. So some and that's you're just gonna things like that are gonna you can't watch everything, or can't be up on everything. Um,
for me, it's as when comedians, especially
mm,
knowing. Again, we always tell people this to give them a reality check that LA is not this gigantic liberal hub and bubble that everybody thinks
mm,
it is. It is majority progressive and liberal minded and
mhm,
whatnot, but it's not as what everybody thinks it is. It's not what everybody
yeah,
it's just not. But when you're talking about the stand-up comedy scene, especially up
mhm,
here, up in
yeah,
LA, you run the risk of never being accepted. You'll get the tourists who come around and be like, "Oh my God, that's Rob Schneider." But after
mm,
that fades, and people realize, "Oh yeah, you are that dude.
yeah,
You are that dude." And it's
mhm,
unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and people will try to use that whole statement of, "Well, I thought we should go past. I thought we could be friends or cordial past political affiliation." Like that was the thing pre 2016.
yeah,
Pre 2016, that was it. I don't care who you vote for. That's
yeah,
fine. Post 2016, with Donald Trump, the way he ran and won and what he kept doing changed
mm,
all of that.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
not
that's
all
like
I know.
yeah, I kind of give George Bush the younger credit because Michelle Obama seems to be his best friend.
And
They,
he's more criminal.
you know, I that's tough because and this is were things done while in during those, yeah, but once you declare war,
This
you're
is true.
some things are going to happen. you know
Yeah, once you make that, once you make that declaration, and as long as I mean, for those who don't know, as long as you are not violating the Geneva Convention rules,
right,
it's all go. It's all,
right,
that's the one wild thing about war, that it's like we can rage battles, but these are the things that are completely off limits.
yeah,
To have that, you know what I'm saying? To say this is a
yeah,
set of standards that are off limits. As long as you don't violate those, and once you make a declaration of war, anything goes. And we may not like it because, of course, lives are lost on each side
right,
and things that happen and whatnot. And of course, no one wants to see that travesty. We see footage of the devastation and whatnot.
mhm,
But again, there's this thing that's been set for that. But as
yeah,
long as you're not going, okay, as long as you ain't using you can wage war if it's regular weaponry. You're not going
right,
out here using biological weaponry and biological
right,
warfare and whatnot. Once you do that, then it's a violation.
yeah. Well, and two, it in in that it's when it happens. If my unit would assault across a, a position, while we're doing that, pretty much all bets are off. You know, you see a person with a gun that isn't your guys, you shoot them, and then you keep going. And if I happen to kick them in the face on the way through, oh well.
Mhm.
Now it ends. They're prisoners. I don't touch them. You don't do.
Right.
They make sense for what it is, and that's why you shouldn't declare war with, well, let's have a war today. No, it better be, um, this person's putting people into concentration camps. Okay, yeah, we can go to war with them,
Mhm.
or those kind of things. um, it is crazy, and there's no denying that.
Yeah, I mean,
But
like I said, it definitely is when you sit there because again, we've seen the stories, especially with American soldiers who have had prisoners and have dehumanized them, and they've all been dealt with,
right,
because of again violation of the Geneva Convention rules of war, you
right.
know, and it's those things, but and
That's why
going.
it's so simple to reform the police. We have the rules now.
Mhm.
If the police find themselves in a shootout, all bets are off. If they're throwing lead back at you, you got to do what you can to protect yourself and the
Right,
other people.
fair.
You get a pass. You got someone handcuffed and six of you and one of him. Yeah, you gotta take care of that person. You can't.
And the problem, and you know what, when he said, and the thing is, it's astonishing you said that, like, yo, the rules are set, like, we could do this. Many police officers are former military.
Hmm.
They're former military.
Yeah,
So it's like,
they know better.
you know better.
Hmm.
You know that if you were still in uniform and this was that situation, you can potentially be court-martialed.
Hmm.
But now because you became a civilian per se, now because you're doing local law enforcement, and the only thing you are beholden to are unions, really.
Yeah.
Like I've said that numerous times on Blurs and everywhere. Everybody talk about the police. The police can be terrible, yes, but the police unions make it
Hmm.
worse
Yeah.
because
And
they're
that's
giving the go ahead to do shit.
that's unions in the abstract are something we need more of in this country. You
Mhm.
know, but you look at the unions that there are, and they kind of fuck up everything. Like the NFL players, the MLB players, the police.
SAG after, and I'm in the
Yeah.
Screen Actors Guild union, and for us, SAG is it makes sure we get paid what we should get paid as actors on
Right.
projects. But at the end of the day, they do shit. They turn around and do stuff. You like, oh, what the fuck are y'all? Like they just recently screwed over the health plan, which screwed
Mm,
over a lot of senior citizen actors who were like,
yeah.
yo, we don't have Humana and all this other extra shit. We got what y'all give us that we've earned, and now we're being
Mm,
screwed out of it.
yeah. See, that's what unions are supposed to be protecting those people. That's their job, and they don't do that. They protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, well, the NFL's just all about the shield. Well, the players aren't, or the players union really aren't about the players either. They're about what they can get and what
Well, let's
they.
change. As somebody who knows people in the that are in the actual in the union and NFL alumni, it's changed over the years
Okay.
because of the concussions and things like
Mm,
that now. So they look at things a little bit differently, if you will, as
okay.
opposed to what can the union get back in the day. Because
Mm.
now you have these unions where I'll go to baseball. Baseball has the best union ever. Major League Baseball's union is second to none.
Hmm.
Because that's how you have those contracts that you're like, how in the fuck?
Yeah.
Somebody getting its money for that. Second
Yeah.
to none.
Yeah. But if more were like that, but again, then unions don't. Uh, they also overprotect. They
Yeah.
make it impossible to get someone bad out because
Yeah.
they're going to protect that person because they feel that the minute they give an inch, the the government or the company's going to try to take a mile. So they have to fight even when the person they're defending isn't worth defending.
I used to work at the airport, and we had a union, and the union was if you kept coming like you had to be just completely a terrible employee on record. It needed to be
Hmm.
recorded for them to finally get rid of you. Or you, when you're on the ramp and you're moving the conveyor belts or something, and you hit a plane, like you're not in control, and you hit a plane, potentially damaging it. That's when you would get fired. But if you did something like, if there's a supervisor that didn't like you and
Hmm.
you knew it, and they were just trying to make your life a living hell and try to fire you, well, the union would fight for that, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, you can't just get rid of them. And then
Right.
eventually the union would go to the company and be like, either do something about this employee or we will. And it was
Yeah.
always the company didn't want the union to be involved in that level. But
Hmm.
you would see people who were, like, oh, this person is always late on purpose because they feel like the union got their back. And then the union's like, this ain't got nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
You made your bed, you lie in it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in that case, that's how it should be. The police, they fight tooth and nail to make sure that there is nothing ever
I want to know what that
brought.
contract is, because there has to be some contract about why you just, like, what are the circumstances per se to you say, well, we're gonna fire this cop, because
Yeah.
it's like shooting someone that's unarmed in the back should be automatic grounds for termination and being prosecuted.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we
that's.
there's so much bullshit paperwork, litigation, all that's internal litigation, if you will.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it's one. It's just over lawyering of the world. That everybody's going, but they've been doing this for so long. This is what they do. The blue line. They're not going to
Yeah.
enforce. Um, you know, the reason why soldiers are, because the other soldiers will say, "Dude, that was fucked up. We're turning you in. You just shot three unarmed people. You know, there's you're going to be held accountable." And the police, even the ones that don't want or don't agree with it don't speak up. So what are you going to do? How are you going to prove anything? And then that's what the.
And you have, again, it goes back to what we were just saying about former military being police officers who try to speak up, but that
Hmm.
thin line of, if we will make your life a living hell.
Yeah.
Like, yo, I would want it to say, okay, I get, supposedly he's not making all this money because he's a cop and a civil servant, blah 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 blah. But at the same time, yo, you shouldn't be out here reckless when your people's lives are in your hands.
Yeah.
You want to get rid of those bad apples.
Yeah. And not getting paid is not an excuse. I made $100 a month for the first about year or so. I was in the military. That's
Really?
yeah. It's gotten better now, but this was in '86 was my first year in the military, and I got because I was you have to pay for your uniforms, you have to pay for your GI Bill and that. So you got that first year you have a few $100 coming out in those kind of things. So I was getting like checks for $100. It's like, okay, well, I'm in boot camp or in my training school. I go to a movie. I get to go to a movie once a week, maybe, and get a burger. So that's that was okay back then. But
Yeah.
um, they do make a little more now, but it's not. If they don't even make minimum wage for the first couple years, probably. Um, and like I said, that might have changed by now, but it was bad.
You got me literally about to Google this. Is the base, not the base salary in the military? What is the average salary? 61.2 a year. That's
That's
for the
the
army.
av-
That's the
yeah,
average.
that's all branches, because if you're an E1, you make the same whether you're in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. That 61,000's mostly because of officers. Do enlisted pay, average enlisted pay.
Okay, average enlisted pay. Because I just saw one. I'm looking at a thing that says as of December 8th, 2020, the average monthly pay for the Army soldier jobs is $2,548 a month.
Yeah, which would be
Oh, whoa. For example, the lowest ranking enlisted member, someone in the pay grade of E1 with less than 2 years of service, makes a base pay of $1,681 a month.
yeah.
A 4-star general, though, who's been in the military for 30 years, takes home about $20,000 per month.
Yeah. Yeah, and 16,000's a lot more than I made to be in 86, but
1,681
100.
$1,681 per month.
Yeah. So that's what, 12,007, about 19,000 a year, a little over 19,
Yeah, because it
20,000.
says base pay for an enlisted service member in the first 6 months comes out to less than $20,000 per year. So yeah, so you ain't joining the military for money.
No. Future money. I went to college. I got a 4-year degree for nothing. They paid me.
I mean, yeah,
That,
future money, yeah, you're built again that money for the future, but damn. But also at the same time, it's you. So are you paying? Because most of the time, military housing provided. I mean, base when you're trained.
yeah, if you are single, military housing is provided for you.
So
Like you
that's
have
a
a place to live, and you go to the chow hall for three meals a day, and it's there is. I mean, they used to give us a thing like that would convert it over into civilian pay, and we'd be like better off than most kids getting jobs out of high school, but not much, not
so that's how they
really.
try to justify it. It was like, well, listen, if
Yeah.
you were out in the world, and this is what.
And you were paying for your medical health insurance and all this and your housing and but that's like guys that get married, they get paid a little more, but they aren't guaranteed housing for their family. They're
Oh,
they have a rack somewhere, or now in the army it's mostly dorm rooms, so it's kind of like you might have a 2-man or a 4-man where like you each have your own bedroom and there's a common living area,
mm,
like a college dorm, really.
yeah.
But and I spent a lot of time in open bay barracks too. Just lines of bunk beds, no walls, no nothing. Like,
You learn
yeah,
a lot. I mean, again, my buddy was in the military, and he was the type because again, what he was doing and where he was being military again, he didn't have to pay for a lot. He's a single guy at the time,
hmm
and so he was able to save his money. So when he
yeah,
came out, he had money. So it may
yeah,
have looked like he was making all this money in the military, but he was just saving up the money he was making.
yeah. Well, that's when I was deployed to Kosovo. Yeah, I came back and had 10, 12 grand in the bank. It's like, and I was in college, going to school at the time, and so I was rich. I mean, what college kid, 20 grand or 10 grand, I'm going to make it through the next year till I graduate. And
Yeah. Yep.
the, it is
Having 10
good.
grand, I want to make it. If you have 10 grand out here, you'd be like, all right, so it's about 6 months of rent just alone in LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so terrible. Like again, it's to the point now where I see why people are moving out of California because of how expensive it's going. Like that's why
hmm
people are going to Texas because they're like,
Right.
look, I can live comfortably, and it may be people will say it may be just Texas, but
Yeah.
I'm not going broke trying to live
Yeah.
out here.
Yeah, I was stationed in San Diego for a few years. And it was crazy then in the 80s. This would have been like 87 to 89.
Mhm.
I was out there and like I could afford to go to a couple movies a week and go out to dinner maybe once, but most of the time I just stayed on stayed on the ship or on base, and that was it.
I remember I was telling somebody, because we were talking about, I forgot who I was talking to. We were talking about apartment prices out here. You okay?
Sorry about that, Jay.
You all right?
Yeah,
Let
water
me.
got away from me.
Okay, I was like, well, make sure you don't drop dead while we're recording this, because I'm like, this is evidence. I don't know. Should I keep this?
Yeah.
But I was saying, I was talking to somebody out here about apartment prices in comparison, and we were talking about how like some places out here are 1,700 for a 1 bedroom, and I'm like, in Chicago, it doesn't even have to be a terrible neighborhood. I can get a 3 bedroom apartment or a house, renting a house for $1,700 a month. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's still, and maybe even less than that. And a lot of people are like, well, is the neighborhood terrible? It's like, no, I'm not saying in the best neighborhoods, because of course in the good neighborhoods they of course jack the price up, and some of the
Yeah.
prices are going up in Chicago as a whole because of what they're trying to do. But it's just like when you realize the cost of living isn't even meeting the price, the cost of housing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's I looked at giving after I graduated. I looked out at California. I got a job offer in San Francisco, and I got really excited because they were going to pay me 70,000 a year to start. And I'm thinking, oh, that's good. And then I looked out there. It's
It's
like,
San Francisco. Yep.
no. Yeah. I mean,
They
I
said
took a
at least
$50,000.
six. You got to be making at least six figures to live comfortably in
Hmm.
San Fran.
I took a $50,000 job in DC area, and okay, that works out.
But again, that just goes to show you how crazy things are. Because again, the average person, when they hear it, if they don't know about how much cost of living is different places, if I hear I
Mhm.
get a job, I can make $75,000 a year. You're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm making 75K a year. I'm good. I can take
Mm.
care of myself. But then you're like, well, you're going to be living in San Francisco or
Mm.
Manhattan or
Mhm.
Los Angeles. And you're like, okay, so what does that mean? And you look at rent prices and you're like, wait, my rent for a 1 bedroom apartment might be $2,000-$3,000, and the
Mm.
apartment ain't shit.
Yep.
I'm paying for
Yeah.
my zip code.
Yeah. That's it. I When I moved back to Pennsylvania, and I told you last time, I'm out in the boonies of Pennsylvania. Um, it's it is a lot cheaper. I didn't make as much, but I own a house for $1,000, which was less than the rent I was paying in the DC area. It's like,
Sense.
okay. But yeah.
That's like, again, if I go home, I'm born and raised Chicago proper. I'm
Mm,
born and raised in the city itself. But unless I'm choosing to live in a neighborhood that I know I can't even go outside and just get some air,
yeah.
I have to move to a suburb just to hopefully, and that's a big hopefully,
Yeah.
comfortable living situation.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you grab a car real quick. Now you can move around, but okay, what suburb? How far now am I being taken away from the city
Right.
just so I can have a reasonable place to live that doesn't bankrupt me almost?
Yeah. I have a cousin out there. They live in Naperville.
Oh,
Uh,
that you ain't gonna say no more to me.
But
my
his wife works downtown in one of those jobs that affords Naperville.
one of my best friends lives in Naperville,
Yeah.
and he was a like a marketing and sales exec. So he had companies and he sold them. So financially, he's set.
Hmm.
He's good. If he needed to make money, he knows how to get back into that game easily and make the money he needs. But
Right.
he has a house out there, and he was like, "This ain't. I live in a neighborhood where people don't think I should be living here." Like because of
Yeah.
how much it costs. It's like you see
Yeah.
families living here, but when you see the families, you know that unless one member, the husband or the wife or one of the partners has an extremely high paying job, both are working with
Right.
a relatively decent level salary to
Yeah.
afford that. And of course, you're paying for the comfort, if you will.
Right.
You know, you this, well, if I'm paying this amount, I don't want crime and I don't want this. Yeah, but in those neighborhoods, you're not paying for drive-by. You're not getting drive-by shootings. I get it.
No.
You're getting not getting a lot of gang activities, but you're getting home invasions and murders. Like
Yeah.
people kicking in the doors of homes and killing whole families.
Yeah. My in-laws came. They live down in Florida near Fort Myer, and I went out. And their first night here, I've been walking. I said, "Well, I'm going to go out for a walk." And they're like, "Real? Are you going to be safe out there?" I'm like, unless a herd of deer come running out of nowhere and run my ass over, I'm going to be good. And I've had that happen to me when I was a kid.
Mm, I'm gonna tell you, I did a show because we'll wrap this up pretty soon.
Sure.
I was I was doing comedy at the Looney Bin in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Mm.
I'd never been in Tulsa, and they have a comedy condo, so it's a house specifically for the comics that come in. You know, they got a washer and dryer, everything, bedrooms, all this other stuff.
Uh,
And I remember, I'll never forget. It became nighttime. It was the most quiet shit I'd ever heard in my life. And it was one of those things where I could hear wildlife shit, and I was terrified because I'd never been through anything like that before. I never experienced anything. I was like, what in the hell is going on?
Mhm.
I've
It's
never
cra-
had.
it's crazy because I've brought friends from the city back to where I live, and they really there's nothing around here. We do have bears. Maybe they're yeah, no, we have bears, and they run away from you. They aren't really the Leonardo DiCaprio kind.
The ones that should have won an Oscar, I
Yeah.
stand by that to this day. The bear should have been nominated. The bear won.
Yeah,
Bear
but
practically raped Leo in The Revenant.
yeah, but people I bring out and they hear these noises, and usually I've had a little simple thing. If it's big, you're not going to hear it coming. Like a deer or a bear, you really can't hear. What makes a bunch of noise are squirrels, chipmunks. Right? They want to make you think that there's something big coming.
Right, that's true. I
But
saw a video a couple weeks ago. One of the things I've been for, doing comedy, you drive on the roads and stuff like that,
yeah,
and you see certain animals. And one of the things I saw that I thought I would never see up close until I drove was a moose. I didn't see it directly
yeah,
up close. I saw it from a distance.
yeah,
And I was like, this looks like a big motherfucker from a distance.
yeah,
From a distance. I
yeah,
saw a video of a moose running through like 3 foot snow, full speed.
yeah.
I said, that is okay. I see why you don't hear people saying, yeah, we out here hunting moose because
Yeah.
they like, you want to? Come on, try it. Like,
That, yeah, who's hunting who? Um, but they're a little further north from me. I'm not quite that far north. Uh,
that is the one animal that terrifies me because when I look at like bears, yeah, bears are scary, of course, because bears can maul and kill you. But when you look, you like, oh, I thought because as a kid, you're like, it's probably just a bigger deer, and you're
yeah,
like, oh,
no, that's
that's not
They're cow size and bigger. They're athletic cows is
They're
the
athletic
problem.
cows. That's the best way to just mooses, because they ain't meese. Mooses, moose are athletic cows. They have the size of a cow, but the speed of a goddamn jaguar.
Yep. I did want to ask you, how did it feel to actually get some nerd news with Disney here? It's
I,
been so long that
you know what? I'm gonna record Mad Titan this week, and I'm debating if I'm just gonna do the Marvel stuff that came out as its own separate episode
yeah,
because of all the stuff they dropped.
right.
You know what? It was exciting, and I think again, everybody was happy to hear all the news because, of course, like you said, we ain't heard nothing. But people had to remember too, this wasn't meant to be a Comic-Con. This wasn't a Comic-Con Hall H announcement. This wasn't for me. This wasn't for you, unless we own a lot of stock and
Right.
put a lot of. This was for investors in Disney to say, this is what we got coming up.
Yeah, but this is still our first. Remember the old Eddie Murphy talking about saltine crackers?
Oh yeah,
That's what it was like. Oh, well, this cracker's good.
it was you because I mean I watched the majority of it after we got off the air on Blurs, and I was the Star Wars stuff. Like I said, I'm not a major Star Wars fan, so I even tweeted. I said I understand how Star Wars fans feel, and then I didn't know. I didn't know. I was like, okay, we're gonna probably hear about the Disney Plus shows and maybe a movie or two. I was like, oh. Matter of fact, Winston had come over my house. Winston had come over after Blurs, and we were sitting right here watching it. And and when they started announcing the Marvel shit, I'm like, you don't stop fucking in me.
It was, you forgot how much you missed that stuff, and it's like it's like, wait, I'm getting excited again. I'm getting
wait, these things I thought wasn't gonna happen, or wait, I think the two biggest ones, I tell everybody, the two biggest announcements to me, that's what we didn't talk about on the fucking show. Now that I think about it, we're supposed to fucking talk about the fucking Disney's investor meeting. That I think about it, the two biggest things that came out for me were the Ironheart announcement, and not just Ironheart. That no, we have her already. It wasn't just it's in development. They're like, this is Ironheart.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this ain't just talk.
No.
And the Fantastic Four announcement, because what it does is it lets you know, because people keep forgetting Spider-Man's a Sony movie, and it lets you know that Marvel trusts John Watts, and Spider-Man 3 must still be amazing.
Yeah.
Because he's done the first two. He's done Homecoming and Far From Home. But also, it now pretty much almost all but solidifies that Doom will be the next big bad.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, it isn't official, but it almost all, because Kang the Conqueror coming in Ant-Man sounds like, I don't know if you're gonna. I don't want another cosmic threat right after Thanos.
Well, Kang's kind of a tweener, isn't he? Doesn't he go back?
He more so is, but when you look at him on the scale, you consider him cosmic, anything non Earth tearing like base. You know what I'm saying? Space and time and galaxy and all that. I consider all those the same, cosmic, all those things like that. I put all those together.
Okay.
Dr. Victor Von Doom has been that in the comics. And knowing, again, this is Marvel Studios, which for the most part has not gotten it wrong.
No.
And
even their bad movies are great. In my, Captain Marvel was one that I think, and it might be because Ben Foster kind of stole the show from her.
Oh, you mean Ben Mendelsohn?
Mendelsohn, not Foster. Yeah,
As Talos, he was I'm telling you, look, this is what I'm saying. I've never seen a scroll of my life so calm and just so reserved. Like, hey, this is what happened, people. You're my chief scientist, and you didn't know that.
But like, that's one of, it isn't my last place, but it's down in my lower half,
No, and I can
and
understand
it's
why.
still great.
So
Yeah,
the worst Marvel movie to me still stands, and it's hard to top it, is Thor: The Dark World.
yeah,
It's
and
it's still,
I think that was they went a little too into the comics. They or it actually doesn't feel uh like Ragnarok feels like that's
right,
mainstream
because they were
Marvel.
still getting they're still were getting their MCU footing. Like
Yeah,
I think we had fully had phase one. No, did we fully have phase one by the end?
yeah, because then Phase One and
With Avengers, yeah.
yeah,
Thor Dark World goes to phase two. So like we weren't fully like we were in the MCU, but we
hmm
weren't like, all right, this is the formula, this is the setting, this is the look and vibe in a sense that we need.
yeah,
We got that now, like I said, but then because with that, I trust them. I trust Marvel, and again, Marvel Studios did what they had to do with the first three phases with their hands tied behind their back, because remember, there were so many people they couldn't use.
yeah,
So many comic stories they wanted to translate to the screen, but they couldn't do them in full because they didn't have the rights to the characters. They didn't have
yeah.
rights to the stories and stuff like that, so they couldn't do it. Now, minus Spider-Man,
hmm
which he doesn't. I mean, I guess he's an Avenger, but also I've said it before. He wasn't meant to be in the MCU forever anyway. It was a short-term deal with Sony. It just panned
Yeah,
out well for us.
yeah.
They can do what they
Well,
want.
and if you're Sony, Marvel's printing money. You might as well stay with. You want to keep up in this because you're giving them their Sony movies, like you said. So they're getting the credit for it, which lets them do Venom, which I thought was pretty good. I mean, I'd put it up. You didn't like it?
Well, so here was my issue. This is my only issue, my biggest issue with Venom. We have progressed so far in comic book movies, not just with Marvel, DC as
Mm-hmm.
well, Dark Horse, Image, all these comic book movies. We progressed so far, right?
Yeah.
We've yes, there is this the disbelief, the suspension of disbelief, the comic book characters, the fantasy reality. We don't need the 90s cheese.
Yeah.
Venom embraced the 90s cheese, and I'm like, it didn't need it.
Nah, but I thought Tom Hardy was just great
Oh, he was having a field day.
when he
Oh,
was doing the "We Are" and you you could see Tom Hardy going a little crazy. He fit that,
well,
He
when
does
the
that well.
symbiote said, "I'm a loser on my planet like you, Eddie," that's when I was like, "Fuck this movie." That's
Oh,
that was literally the moment I was like, "Fuck this film," because I was like, the symbiote is never said that. Like,
yeah,
but again, you started seeing when Tom Hardy goes in that restaurant and sits in that lobster tank. That's
mm,
the moment oh, he don't give a shit. He just gonna have fun. Like
mm,
at the end of most movies are like work and things like that, and you still have fun. But he was like, he's literally going to have fun now. You
yeah,
saw it after that moment. You're like, this is a field day of Tom Hardy right now.
yeah,
This is a field
That's-
day.
yeah.
It's not
And
as serious like the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, and I thought it set up, for a first movie. I gave it okay. I want to see where it goes from here. Um,
Well,
which
the only thing that made me mad too is Riot did everything that Carnage does.
yeah,
And so I was like, yeah, Carnage is known for making weapons and blades and stuff like that. And I was like, if you're gonna do that, then Carnage has to be again. I trust Woody Harrelson to play crazy as long as they don't give him that horrible ass wig anymore.
yeah,
Jesus Christ. But I trust that. I
mm,
do. I just am like, now you don't have to have the campiness. Now
right,
you don't have to be you don't have to be super serious. So for anybody
mm,
watching and be like, well, is that no, it doesn't have to be super serious. But there's
yeah,
a certain bar, even like I said, even with DC films, where we've evolved past campy.
right,
So that I
yeah,
mean, I think that was it for me with Venom.
yeah. again, there's, but that what my Sony's built getting all that cred from Marvel. Why would you break that? You know,
It's
you
going to
want
be
to keep
interesting. This is Tom Holland's last film.
Till they back the truck up.
Under contract, right? It's his last film under contract.
Yeah, because he's another one that I think he seems to be really enjoy all of them.
He is a kid who literally got to be Spider-Man, and I think he is living the dream. The majority of us wish if we were comic book fans, wish we could. I'm a kid. I'm a young adult. I am booked in a blockbuster movie to play Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, my job is to do this and web sling. And because I'm acrobatic and athletic, it makes it even better. I mean, again, I don't see why he wouldn't at this point in his career. Like, he can have other offers. And again, he's about to do Uncharted and everything, and he's still doing other projects.
Yeah.
But if he's loving doing this, he can have this run. But again, like, even when Robert Downey Jr. was done, and Chris Evans and even Chris Hemsworth, after he does Thor: Love and Thunder, I think he might be done. But it's like they've earned it.
Yeah.
They've put their time in.
Yeah. Well, what's it been, about 12 years now?
Yeah.
So that's
like, you earned that time. So like, Robert Downey Jr. wants to go. Guess what? Thank you for your service. That's what you give it. Thank you for your service, because you give everything in that role.
Yeah. Well, and I still don't think, even if they leave, I don't think it's the last you'll see of them, because I could see Robert Downey Jr. popping. He's not going to do the 2-hour or the 3-hour movie and be the main guy, but I see him popping into something like Lionheart as a hologram, or an AI, or flashback, something, where he's passing on advice, or
that's doing. What Armor Wars interests me, because I think Armor Wars will probably, because so Ironheart, the story with her is she finds an old Iron Man suit,
right,
and because she's a genius herself, she retrofits it, she reprograms it and everything for her.
Right.
I wouldn't mind seeing I think I already know what happens. Never mind.
Well, that's I don't know if my idea would be how you get Robert Downey Jr. into that. She's messing around with the suit. Boom, he pops up
as a hologram.
Hologram, and says, "Hey, you figured this out? Cool. Well, keep working on it and let me know how it goes."
Well, listen, because I got to go here and get my ass a workout in. Man, I always enjoy these conversations with you. I really do, and I mean that sincerely. I know you're not, big on the nets and the social medias. If they want to talk to you, you just like whatever.
One of these days, I'm going to break down and get a Twitter account just so I can follow you and Winston, and you guys get a few more numbers.
I appreciate that. Listen, y'all already know the deal with me. Twitter, Instagram, Mr. J Washington. If you want to join the Supervillain Squad, patreon.com/Mr. J Washington. Thank y'all for watching. Stay tuned for one of the next ones coming up. I'll let y'all later. Bye.